Hi guys, I'm just on my way to work this morning. I hope you can hear me because it is very windy out here. So I'm just literally like on my way to work this morning. I just thought to do this video to just mention about experiences that I've been experiencing, which unfortunately which seems to be kind of a regular thing that happens every time these sort of pagan, Wiccan, polytheist religions get discovered, when the experiences start to happen. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. When I was actually involved in Hermeticism ages ago, going back a few years now, and I was actually on the dreaded site Amino. Obviously at the time I never heard of Discord back then. I only heard of Amino. So it is a site that I wish I never got involved in, but unfortunately at the time I only recently heard of Discord when my lovely best friend Pit the Pagan run it, because Amino is not exactly reliable as much as it makes itself out to be fair, with the information that it's encouraging people to believe in, and some of it turns out to be wrong. So it's not exactly a reliable source, and I wouldn't recommend it on my channel to anyone other than Discord. I'm an admin on Discord, so I know it's a reliable site. And so I was seeing, on the Dread Site Amino, I was seeing a lot of posts of Aphrodite going up, and I was still in Hermeticism at the time, and people were saying a lot of great things about her, and I began to feel quite drawn to her and wanted to work with her, because she seems to be someone that I could express myself with. You know, I am also a Libra as well. You know, I do love my fashion, I love pink. You know, I also love my reds as well. I'm into glitter, as you can see, if you can see it, but I'm into, you know, glittery eye makeup. I love dresses. You know, I really wish I could wear a dress every day, because I absolutely love dresses. I'm a very girly girl. I'm not a tomboy. I do wear jeans, and obviously I do wear quite a lot of flat shoes. Maybe because I do feel quite comfortable in walking flat shoes, especially when you've got a kid. The last thing I would do is trying to run after my little boy, you know, in heels. So this is why I tend to wear flat shoes a lot, but I do love heels, and I do love fashion. So I saw a lot of myself, you know, in her, and so she became the reason to why I discovered the Greek religion, because I generally became really drawn to her, wanted to work with her. Well, I used the term work for worship. And so when I discovered Hellenic paganism, because I didn't want to also leave Hermeticism at the time, but according to someone who worked with Apollo, said that I couldn't be Greco-Roman Hermetic, which has been involved in all three religions. You know, no one has any right to tell you what you can and can't do in your own path, just to mention that. You know, it's no one's business. If you want to take that path, you can. And so she got quite controlling, and other than that, she was actually quite rude as well. So because she said that I couldn't be, I wasn't allowed to be. So I ended up leaving Hermeticism to discover the Greek religion, so I could start working with Aphrodite. So I ended up discovering Hellenic paganism, and I ended up experiencing a lot of crap in there. And so I wasn't willing to put up with it, so I moved it into Hellenic polytheism to get away from it. And then I ended up experiencing Hades. Now, for someone who is into dresses and is quite girly, and is someone who was never drawn to Hades into wanting to work with him, bear in mind I do use the term work for worship, why the hell did I experience him? And it turns out that someone said on a site was that it was either auditory hallucinations or you hear a deity's name getting said when you're just about to wake up. It's like, well, where are they getting this crap from? And so, I mean, it didn't really matter to me because I was never working with Hades. I'm not the type really that would be drawn to a deity like him. So all the crap that I initially was put through in Hellenic paganism was because I wasn't hearing his name. When it isn't a deity's name that I would generally want to hear, especially when I'm not even working with them. And then there were other things that were being said, like hearing a deity's name getting said because you're working with more than one. And it's like, I know many people that work with more than one deity. Still bear in mind, I still use the term work for worship. And I know many people that work with more than one deity and they don't hear it. It's not as if they're not working with more than one deity. For someone to say, well, they must not be working with more than one deity then if they haven't heard that. It's the fact that they are, but they haven't heard it. Which is a good thing. Because you need to wonder where it's come from. You need to question where it's come from and why it's done what it's done. And so, and bearing in mind, I still wasn't experiencing Aphrodite, just deities that I wasn't working with. And then after, I think about a year, I ended up going into Hellenic Wicca because I found that Hellenic polytheism was too strict for me. And that I needed to be in something, because I'm quite a free-spirited person and I don't like things that are too strict, and Hellenic polytheism was really strict, so I ended up going into Hellenic Wicca. That suits me fine. And I'm also still working with Aphrodite. I also run a Facebook group with Aphrodite. She's very universal to me, which Libras do tend to, which Libras do tend to see Aphrodite as being universal. It's definitely how a Libra ends up feeling towards Libra deities. They do tend to see them as being as universal. A majority of people that are Libras, like myself, do see Aphrodite as being universal. And I also work with Eros, her son, as well. So I kind of follow kind of the mother and son relationship. So I kind of follow that myth with being a mother myself. So I kind of follow that myth. You know, I really don't like the fact when people say that it's either this or this, when really, you know, it shouldn't be the case. Well, it's either this. It's either you hear this or you experience this. So well, it should be neither, really. You know, especially when that person isn't already working with that deity as it is. You know, it's like, for those that are on my channel, as you know, that I've started my own path in pop culture paganism of Titanic Wiccan, which, from my perspective personally, it can be argued to follow Titanic Wiccan as kind of like from a religion aspect. You know, especially when it comes to cultures like ancient Greece that actually have a religion adapted from it. And I don't really see why Titanic can't necessarily have the same thing. I mean, it got started up because I never want Titanic to end. You know, and so that's the reason why it got started up. But it got slotted into pop culture paganism because people were arguing, saying that the officers like Moody, Thomas, Andrews and Murdoch, you know, they would argue against the fact they could be seen to do hero work, which is fine because I agree, but then they were saying that Titanic can't be seen as an actual religion. But when you look from ancient Greece perspective, a religion got adapted from that. So that's really no different, really, when you look at it. It's no different because a religion got adapted from it. So I think, for me personally, that can be argued against, especially when ancient Greece has its own religion. You know, when ancient Roman has its own religion, you know, that's all been adapted. You know, people would also argue against that and say, well, you know, I couldn't see that ancient Greece could have its own religion. I couldn't see that ancient Roman or ancient Egypt could have its own religion. You know, people could actually argue against that. You know, they could argue against it, but I'm guessing we're all going to have our own personal opinions about things. You know, it's like when people get interested in, like, for example, ancient Egypt or ancient Greece. You know, when you hear someone say, oh, you need to dream about the statues to get you, which apparently is what causes you to have an interest in ancient Egypt when you dream about the statues. But I know many people that have an interest, for example, in ancient Greece, but they haven't dreamt about any statues, they haven't dreamt about anything. A dream wasn't the cause of their interest. A dream wasn't caused of my interest. It had nothing to do with that. You know, just as much as, you know, for example, when you have an interest in Titanic and you hear Titanic's name getting said continuously, that's not the reason to why I have an interest in it. And I don't know why that would get said. I don't have a clue. Just as much as I don't have a clue when you would hear someone say to you that you're obsessed with it. Sorry guys, I'm just crossing the road. You know, it makes no sense. You know, I don't know why it would get said. I don't know why you would hear something say to you that you're obsessed with it, or when you would hear something say to you, have you been actively seeking it? I don't know why it would get said. You know, why would something would need to know that? You know, I mean, what business would it have? Why would something need to know whether you've been actively seeking or not? It's not their business. You know? It really doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. You know, I can honestly say that my interest in Titanic and ancient Greece wasn't caused by a dream. It wasn't caused about dreaming of statues or dreaming, you know, of a Titanic model. It wasn't because of that. You know, Titanic goes back to kind of my childhood when the movie came out. So it kind of all goes back from then, but I didn't watch my first documentary till 2012. I wasn't looking for that documentary, I just came across it. And because I'd already seen the film, I wanted to see, you know, the real things. That's why I bought the which is actually on this channel. So I bought a documentary, and that's when it all kind of started, you know, and I began to watch more documentaries and more documentaries on it. You know, I was really delving into the real thing, you know, what the movie was based on, real life things. So yeah, it does go back to my childhood, but I didn't see my first documentary of it till 2012. And now I've been feeling kind of past lives with it, same with ancient Greece. But yeah, I just don't understand these really bizarre experiences, and also been experiencing spirit that have been showing me jewellery and spirit that haven't been showing me jewellery. Bearing in mind, I'm not working with any of them. I'm only working with 3. That's Moody, Andrews and Murdoch, that are all involved in Titanic Wicca now, because, you know, I never wanted Titanic to end, so everything's involved in that. You know, it's in pop culture paganism where it is, so it's kind of my own path, and I do prefer doing my own path because it gives me a lot more freedom, even though I've made Hellenic Wicca my own. You know, that's strictly now my own path now because I made it my own. Just as much Titanic wick as my own. You know, it's the same sort of thing. But I just don't understand these really bizarre experiences. I mean, you know, I would love to start experiencing, sorry, that was my hand. I would absolutely love to start experiencing deities and, you know, spirit that I do actually work with, because I think it would help and control a lot of the stress. Because it ended up turning to Titanic last night, and it did help. You know, I felt so much better. And I ended up sleeping with a spirit that I was working with. You know, I fell asleep because I have like a Punji app altar on my phone, so I opened it up whilst I was asleep, and I was sleeping with him. And, you know, so I went to sleep with him, and I did feel so much better after turning to Titanic. But then all this, everything has pushed everything back to square one again. You know, this is why people turn to stuff for a reason, you know, to help. And it did help because I felt so much better, but then everything kind of pushed it back to square one again. So, yeah. So if anyone says to you, if you do hear deities' names getting said because you're working more than one, don't pay attention to it. You know, I'm also surrounded by people that don't hear it. The best thing I could advise is just ignoring and question to where it's come from, and also question to why you've been hearing it. And if it comes to anything else as well, it's not the sort of thing that people experience with, from my understanding, with being on Discord. As an admin, I've never seen it. It's the sort of things that we would actually question where it's come from. Alright guys, I'm at work now, so I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.